My name's Zafar Beeblebrox and I'm the British Tech Guru. Right now I'm going to talk about the practicality of school bus conversions. You know, a lot of people convert them, I have. But is it a practical thing to do? Well, yes and no. Yes, it's practical if you're doing it for the fun of doing it and you're prepared or at least can afford big bills. For example, an oil change will be about $1,000 and you cannot skip oil changes. And a set of new tyres is going to cost you about $4,000. If you blow up an engine, then that's going to be probably about $8,000 to get a used engine. I don't recommend used engines. And probably about $8,000 to get a used gearbox, transmission. I don't recommend used. Just like I do not recommend used tyres or recap tyres. They're cheap for a reason. They're cheap because they're rubbish. If you would let your children ride in a bus with dangerous tyres, God help you. Now, in terms of practicality, we have several issues that make school buses extremely attractive. First is the low price, because after 20 years, by law, the school buses have to be replaced. So there's a lot of school buses going out, and they generally go out dirt cheap. A great number of them will get used as sheds. A great number of people will make the mistake of buying a school bus without any clear notion about where they're going to park it. They're going to find opposition from their homeowners association. They're going to find opposition from local authorities. They're going to find they're going to have to pay to store it. So this idea of it being a cheap alternative to accommodation is complete nonsense. If you can't afford your accommodation, a school bus is not going to fix that. What's going to fix that is you're getting a better job or moving away from the expensive area and just commuting to your job. Well, if that doesn't work, if commuting from a cheaper area does not work, then you are in the wrong job. You need to get rid of that job and get yourself something that actually pays the bills. A school bus is a hobby. It's an expensive hobby. Turning it into a motorhome, it's fun, yes, but insurance will not cover that. They're not going to cover a DIY conversion. The best you can do is get collision-only insurance. Oh yes, people online will argue, and they'll argue and curse till the cows come home. But I have been to every one of my local insurance brokers, and I have asked the same question. Do you insure a school bus conversion? And the answer has been universally, no. Let that sink in. Then I have asked some of these online insurance companies, and God knows if they're genuine or not. And it's just some random website that claims to be an insurance company. And half of them either go silent after getting hold of their brokers or come back and say no. Most of them would just go silent. And that is before they have had anything other than the question, do you insure a school bus conversion? Well, clearly the answer is no. Nobody really does. And sure, there are companies that will cover a school bus conversion, but they will only cover it for the value of the old school bus. So what's the point of that? You might just as well get collision-only insurance, and if it gets written off by somebody, well, you'll have to fight their insurance company for compensation. As far as if you write it off, that's your fault. And in terms of insurance, a lot of people will say, yes, I've got insurance, but they will have lied on their forms. They lie, and that's never good. That's the kind of thing that ends you in jail. So yeah, school bus conversions are practical if you're prepared to pay for the repair costs and the high towing costs. They're practical if you want to do a lot of things yourself. They're not practical if you want somewhere to live. If you want somewhere to live, go to a cheaper area, get yourself a rented accommodation in a cheaper area. Best case scenario, if you really, really want cheap, rent yourself a lock-up garage and put a camper in it. Yeah, the people come up with all this absolute nonsense online, and you cannot live in a school bus, you cannot live in an RV, you cannot live in a camper long term. It's good for emergency accommodation, and that's all. Emergency and holiday accommodation. And the conversion is largely a hobby. What happens when you want to get rid of it? Who's going to buy it? Who? And I've heard of people blowing up an engine through a lack of maintenance and finding that the scrapyard wants to charge them for their bus. That's because nobody wants old school buses. That's why the school districts sell them cheap. So, you know, you're buying a problem if you buy an old bus. You're buying a problem if you buy an old vehicle, because you're going to have to get rid of it in the end. And in fact, probably the best way to get rid of your school bus conversion, if you've had your fun out of it, is just to take it somewhere, set it on fire, and hope that it all burns out before somebody puts it out. And when it's all burned out, then the scrapyard will probably give you $5 for it. No, the school bus conversions are absolutely not practical. No way, no how. Similarly, van conversions. And the only benefit of a van conversion is it looks like a van. And if you put something like Dan's Dirty Diaper Service on the side, then who is going to break into that? They're going to think it's full of dirty diapers. If you have windows in the side and solar panels on the roof, make it obvious that it's not just an ordinary bog standard van, then yeah, people are going to want to break into it and steal it and all kinds of nonsense. But yeah, if you want to travel and you want a cheap RV, get yourself a second-hand RV. School bus conversions are great. I have one, I enjoy it. but I use it more as a studio than anything else. I use it more as an electronics studio. And right now, in order to get it to move, I need to put new batteries. I need to finish doing the back brake lines. I need to redo one of the wiper mounts. Then I need to get into the brakes and polish the brake pins, the brake pistons, because they'll be rusted solid, because I haven't moved it in, what, 5 years? I had new tyres put on it about 2 years ago. It hasn't moved since then. Still got the same stickers on the tyres. Haven't turned the wheels. And that is purely because straight after I had the new tyres put on, I hurt my back. So I was out of action for probably about a year. But yeah, and I would not be too surprised if I didn't need new tyres again. But yeah, that's the thing. A school bus conversion is not cheap. It will not run cheap. And there are people who say, oh, we get 10, 15 miles to the gallon. No, I don't believe them. Yeah, 10 miles to the gallon maybe, because that's fairly ordinary. Mine gets 8 miles to the gallon, but hey, it's an older model. Grow more than 55 miles an hour on the road, forget it. Because most of them, they're not designed to go faster. If you go faster, you burn the engine out, or the transmission, or both. End yourself up with some expensive bills. It's like those idiots that try to run off cooking oil because they can't afford diesel. No. School bus conversions are not cheap. They're not practical. They're a hobby, and they're fun. So if you approach them like that, more power to you, and you'll really enjoy it. And I'll see you again in the next video. And I've been Zafo Beeblebrox, the British Tech Guru.